Good evening, YouTube. You guys are now watching another segment of the TheCaliEffect. Since you guys were so patient, I think I'm going to be giving you guys the Destiny, the DDT Turbo deck, or the Diamond Dude Turbo deck. It's an extremely interesting deck to play, and the only reason why it took me so long is because I was trying to get everything at its highest rarity. Some of these cards in here are just a pain in the ass. Magical Stones Ultra, Diamond Dude Turbo's Ultimate, they're just hard to find. And then if you do find them, the person normally wants to jack up the price. But typically Diamond Dude, let's just get down to the deck profile. This deck focuses on milling spell cards and being able to use them with Diamond Dude. It's an OTK-centric deck. It is nowhere near a Tier 1 deck. It's nowhere near a Tier 2 deck. It is a fun deck to play. It is something you play with your friends on a casual day or when you feel like just going to a tournament or a local tournament and just messing around. It is an extremely interesting deck, and we're going to be talking about a couple of cards that I didn't use and then just getting down to the deck profile. So let's just start off. We're going to be starting off, you guys didn't see that. You didn't see that to the end. We're going to start off with 3 copies of Diamond Dude. Diamond Dude is going to mill off your spell cards. You don't have to pay the cost for the spell card milled off. Cards like Trade In, Feather of the Phoenix, Magical Stone Excavation, you don't have to pay that cost. You just gain the effect. So with Magical Stone, you just gain a spell card to your hand. Destiny Draw, you just draw 2 cards. And this is ultimately our engine of the deck. It's the heart and soul of the deck. We need this card as soon as possible to be able to generate advantage. Next, 2 copies of Dark Creator. Now, Dark Creator is in here because mid and late game, Dark Creator wins games. It helps fuel our OTKs. All of our monsters in our deck are dark. So Dark Creator shouldn't be too hard to get off in mid to late game. The only thing you need is 5 or more. Now, if you just so happen to have 5, it's probably one of the perfect setups for your Dark Arm Dragon. So just a really good card, special summoning Jinzo and other cards to the field, helping you exceed, bringing back Diamond Dude for extra mills. And you can't really knock it. It's Dark Creator. Next, 2 copies of Destiny Hero Plasma. While you really won't be summoning it right now, with this particular build, it is a level 8 Destiny Hero monster. So it fits 2 requirements. It's a trade-in target and it's a Destiny Draw target. With that being said, if you ever do manage to summon Plasma in the current build or in your main deck before you go into your sideboard, it locks out your opponent's monster effects. It snatches an opponent monster in the process. It's a really good card and just too hard to pass up. It is the 2nd best Destiny Hero behind Diamond Dude because Diamond Dude makes his own deck. I'm sorry, I don't see a malicious deck running around. Next, 2 copies of Dark Lord Zerato. Dark Lord Zerato is another one of those, like, you just look at it and you're like, why are you playing this card? This card wins games on its own right. A 2800 beater, a dark monster, a trade-in target, and if you discard a dark monster, it nukes your whole opponent's field. I mean, that's all you can ask for in a monster like this. Dark Lord Zerato wins games. It's just so good in this deck, and I really can't even explain all of the applications that Dark Lord Zerato fits in. It's never dead because of its trade-in, allure, whatever target, and it's just a really good card. Next, we're going to be running 3 copies of Jinzo. Now, the reason why we run 3 copies of Jinzo, because like I said, this is an OTK deck. If you want to OTK your opponent, 9 times out of 10, Heavy Storm's banned, you're going to have to lock your opponent out of their trap cards. You lock your opponent out of the trap cards, you're probably going to have just just this much more of an easier time to do whatever you have to do to win the game. Also, on top of that, he's a 2400 attack monster. 6 stars is really good for this deck. I really just can't knock Jinzo at all. Next, for another card I was trying to get to high rarity but couldn't, we're running 3 copies of Destiny Hero Malicious. Now, this is probably the most controversial card in the deck. Why? Because I'm not running Destiny Hero Malicious's best friend, what happens to be Plague Spreader Zombie, who in turn could add synergy to the deck by putting a spell card to the top of your deck and then milling it off with Diamond Dude. I'm not running it. I'm not running tuners for any matter in this deck. Why am I not running Plague Spreader? Because I have not found the room for him. I would like to try out Plague Spreader, but I have not found the room for him. I don't want to cut out spells. I don't want to cut out traps, and there's not really a lot of monsters to cut out. If you guys want to try Plague Spreader Zombie, I couldn't even tell you what to drop because it's just, this deck is just so solid from there. Also, it's a win more card. It hasn't been necessary, but Bills is Bills. So being able to summon Bills is pretty nice. Malicious is a level 6 Destiny Hero monster. Now, when you look at Malicious, you're like, why does level 6 even matter? because X-Seed summoning is still a thing. And Malicious plus Jinzo, Malicious plus Malicious with Dark Creator. Malicious is still tribute fodder for Jinzo. It's still tribute fodder for Dark Lord Zerato, provided that you have 4 different Dark Monsters with different names. Malicious has so much utility in this deck besides being synchro fodder, which it isn't in this deck. I think it's a really good card, and keep in mind, it's the best standalone Destiny Hero monster, so why not run it? The last monster will be 1 copy of Dark Armed Dragon. I should not have to explain this card. Special summon it by having 3 darks, banish to destroy. I mean, it just has OTK written all over it. It was built to make OTKs and nothing else. Next, for spells, we're running 3 copies of Destiny Draw. I run enough Destiny Draw targets. Millable with Diamond Dude. Just too good to give up. 3 copies of Trade-In. I hope you guys feel that I run enough trade-in targets. I run the 2 Plasma, the 2 Zerato, 2 Dark Creator, and then, you know, just other stuff to get into it. So, trade-in is a really good card. Also millable with Diamond Dude. Now, here's where that gets a little tricky. 2 copies of Reasoning. Now, the biggest reason why people get caught off guard when you play Reasoning is because Sylvans are a deck. Also, 6 Samurais used to run Reasoning, and then Diamond Dude used to run Reasoning. So the biggest theory behind Reasoning, you play it, they call a number, you run 3 level 4 monsters, which they'll typically call. You run 6 level 6 monsters, which they tend not to call. And then you run 2 level 8 monsters that can be special summoned through Reasoning. So it's all fine. It's really a mashup between whether they'll call it right or Reasoning. So 9 times out of 10, you will get Reasoning right. Especially if you're playing against a player that doesn't know Diamond Dude Turbo, who knows? They're more than likely going to call 4, 2, or 3. And they're more than likely going to get it wrong. Reasoning is almost granting you a special summon from your deck. It also lets you go get to your monster as fast as possible. And it's just a really good card in this deck. And it helps with the OTK. Next, 2 copies of Magical Stone Excavation. Now, I used to think that drawing this card would be the most horrible thing in the world. But since Diamond Dude generates so much advantage, there'll be times where you have 9 cards in your hand and you'll be like, well, I could really use some cards in my graveyard and have this certain spell card back to my hand. Voila, Magical Stone Excavation, allowing you to get rid of all of that clout you have in your hand, all of that floatingness in your hand, and retrieve a spell card if you do draw it. Now, for its intended purpose, is to mill it off with Diamond Dude, is to put it back to the top of your deck with a Feather of the Phoenix, is to just keep the chain rolling. But more than likely, you're going to draw it, and it still is really useful when you do draw it. It's just a really good card in here. 2 copies of DDR. Now, DDR is it's very interesting here because there's times where I had a Malicious Engrave and a Malicious Banish. Malicious Effect, banish themselves, special summon, DDR, bring back that Malicious and X-Seed summon. You guys are probably looking like, why the hell did you bring back a Malicious? And that's what a lot of people do when you send the DDR or Malicious back to the field and then summon another Malicious. But DDR does have enough targets. You banish a lot in this deck. You have, like I just said, Malicious, Dark Creator, Allure, Creeping Darkness, just so many ways to get banished monsters outside. We don't have Dimension Fusion, we don't have Return from a Different Dimension, so we have to go to DDR, which is not that bad of a card. 2 copies of a Feather of Phoenix helps us guarantee 100% of Diamond Dude's effect every single time. Milled off with Diamond Dude, perfect. Put a spell card to the top of your deck, mill off with Diamond Dude again. You have so much cards in your hand, perfect. Discard for the Feather of Phoenix, put that spell back to the top of your deck, make those plays. Just a really, really good card. Nothing else to be said about it. Next is 2 copies of Creeping Darkness. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't like this card. Rhoda's at 1 though, and Diamond Dude is just this. It's a little important to the deck, seeing that it's a Diamond Dude Turbo type deck. So Creeping Darkness is almost mandatory. On the plus side, it does banish darks from your graveyard, so it allows you for dark manipulation to special summon your Dark Arm. It also, like I said, gets you Diamond Dude to your hand, which is the most important card in this deck. Next is 1 copy of Monster Gate. You activate it. While you mill it with Diamond Dude, you get a free monster to the field no matter what. You tribute a monster like Diamond Dude or Destiny Hero Malicious, because Malicious will be pretty useless to you just sitting in the graveyard or in your deck. You get a chance to special summon a really good monster to the field. Monster Gate is at 1 because of this deck, so I really feel the need to play at least one. 1 copy of Reinforcements to add the Diamond Dude. Allure Darkness. Every monster's in here is dark. Dark Hole. I'm really thinking about cutting it, but I really don't have a reason to cut it for. If I were to cut it, it'd probably have to be for another spell card because I don't want to lower the chances of milling off a spell card with Dark Hole. But Dark Hole is, like I said, it's a field wipe, and if you mill it with Diamond Dude, I mean, I can't even really tell you. It's that they don't see it coming because did they see a Dark Hole in your graveyard? So it's an okay card. And then Foolish Burial. Now, Foolish Burial really isn't only for malicious. It's for putting a dark in the graveyard. It's for putting Zerato in the graveyard when you need to special summon them. And it's for a multitude of reasons. If you guys ever decided to put in that Plague Spreader in your deck, well, Foolish is already there. So you're one step closer to accomplishing a couple of key plays. And then last, 3 copies of Threatening War because I don't like being OTK'd. I don't know about you, but this deck it's pretty vulnerable at times. And you need to keep your Diamond Dudes on play. So Threatening War prevents your opponent from OTKing you, from doing all the stupid stuff, and then you get to go on about your life. 2 other cards I wanted to mention that are not in this deck is Divine Sword Phoenix Blade. Now, a lot of people might not know why Divine Sword Phoenix Blade used to be in this deck. This deck used to use this card because it had a lot of warriors in the deck. All of them were abusable with Divine Sword. You can banish them, and it fueled Dimension Fusion in your return from the different dimension. The reason why I'm not running Divine Sword is because Return from the Different Dimension and Dimensional Fusion are banned. If they were unbanned, I'd probably try to find a way to work it in just because it's such a good card and it makes your Diamond Dude 1700, which makes it so strong. Next, another controversial card will be Upstart Goblin. Now, Upstart Goblin would serve a purpose by thinning the deck by 3, and it's a spell card millable by Diamond Dude, but I didn't include it because I felt like any 3 of those spell cards milled by Diamond Dude would probably be just a better choice to mill with Diamond Dude. Upstart Goblin would actually set you back a turn if you milled it with Diamond Dude as opposed to milling any of your trade-ins, your Destiny draws, your feathers, your Basical Stones, and anything like that. Next on for the extra deck, which is probably interesting because you're going to summon just about all these monsters if you play this deck long enough. Tachyon, it goes for game. Healing Operating Drowning, a Heretic Sun, whatever you want to call it. I've actually never summoned this one, but I'm pretty sure when I do, it's going to be for game. Divine Dragon for game, because it's Divine Dragon. I actually haven't summoned him either, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be for game. Thunder Chargers, who I summon on occasion for game, because it has piercing damage. And then the rest are just a load full of 6s. Pluthotomy M7 to recycle. And then you overlay for Gyre Charger for game. Photon Strike Bouncer to lock your opponent's monster effects. Gauntlet Launcher because it's a double monster destroyer. And then you overlay Thunder Charger for game. Insector Exabeetle because you get to steal an opponent's monster from the graveyard or get rid of a card on the field or do both, whatever you want to do. And then you overlay for Thunder Charger for game. 101, Diamond Dire, Exiton, Maestro, Dweller. All of these can come out for synchros if you guys are running Plague Spreader. So like I've probably summoned Honor Arc once and then Exiton because I mean come on, I had all those spells and I had all the spells in Diamond Dude for graveyard. I think I had like a trade-in and a Destiny draw, and he was obviously higher in cards. I went to Exiton, blew his field, and then drew 4 cards. It was almost like cheating. It was really fun. But other than that, you really don't need these cards. Only reason why I run them is because I have the space. But thank you guys for watching another segment of the TheCaliEffect. Oh, almost forgot the most important part. Why am I almost ending this video? Now, the side deck, probably one of the most interesting side decks ever. Why? Because you can't mess with the flow of this deck. You can't ruin the balance or the consistency. You don't want to ruin it. So, 1 copy of Thunder King Ryle. I know I just basically contradicted myself with Thunder King Ryle because it prevents the consistency from searching. But your only search cards are your 2 Rotas and the Creeping Darkness, as opposed to what your opponent playing, Cough Cough, Fire Fist, Spellbooks. This is going to practically lock them out of the deck. Really good card. Plasma. The 3rd Plasma is here for effect negation. When you're siding Plasma in, you're going to be summoning it, and you're going to need it as fast as possible. What we have learned from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that locking your opponent's monster's effects out of the game is probably going to win you the game. Triple copy of Night Beam. I guess if you ever needed back rotor section, Night Beam would be the guy. You don't need Mystical Space Typhoon because it's a quick play. Night Beam is the superior card in this deck. Triple copy of Scapegoat. Now, Scapegoat's not only in here to prevent those pesky YuGiOh players for OTKing me, because I hate that. It's also to lock them out of their effects, because you can tribute Scapegoat tokens for Plasma. 2 copies of System Down, because I couldn't really find anything else to side. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. If somebody suggests a better side card to be running against something else, then I probably would try it out. But until then, System of Down, millable with Diamond Dude, pay 1,000 life points, you ruin a YuGiOh player or a Cyber Dragon player or a Machine player's day. 1 day apiece. You typically want to side this in when you're going second. Your opponent, YuGiOh, because like I said, this is probably one of the hardest matchups. Going second, you don't want to be OTK. You 1 day apiece them. You get another turn for your Diamond Dude to mill off. Whatever. It prevents you from, you know, your opponent going ham. Triple copy of Royal Decree, because we only run Threatening Roar, and Jinzo is only a monster. It can be stopped in so many other ways. Preventing your opponent from using back row 6 times is better than 3. And then that 1 random copy of Debunk, because they don't see it coming. Thank you guys for watching another segment of The Cali Effect. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy.